Good afternoon, hello, good morning, wherever you are. My name is Maryam Bey, and today is my book signing. And as you know, I'm the host of television, and I'm so excited again because I have a young man that I met. How long ago was it, Mr. Harris? About?
Probably 7 to 8 years ago.
7 to 8 years ago, we met.
Long-standing relationship.
Yes, right. We met. He worked in a halfway house, and in this halfway house, I was invited to come in and talk to the staff and talk to the residents, the inmates who were there. So he is such a wealth of knowledge, and what I love about him is that he is so caring and so concerned about what you were doing. I mean, I felt that. You know, when we first met, I really felt your passion that you had for the work that you were doing, and you cared so much about it.
Thank you.
So,
Genuine.
yes.
Kindred spirits.
Yes, right, right. So my book is about my 20 years experience working with, within this a population, and it says 17 years because this was I wrote this last year. And last year, this was a book cover last year,
Wow,
right?
nice.
Thank you, but I wanted to change it.
Wow.
But I tell the story because I didn't want my picture on the book cover, right? So my family said, yes, put yourself out. You know how our families are.
Right.
They want people to see you, right?
Right.
Okay. I said, okay.
Visibility.
So God said, just put it out there, because you're putting the message out there. And so it's been out there since last year, and so many people have read the book, and the responses that I have gotten from the book has been very powerful. And everything in here is true. Nothing is fabricated. It's all true, right? So I have stories in here from brothers and sisters about when, the things that they went through and what they did. So I want to tell you, all of them in there are, there's like, the only one that I could say, if you said, Ms. Bey, which is the favorite chapter, it would have to be the chapter on my son, on my youngest son. And the reason why that is because he was arrested for carrying his own legal weapons.
Legal weapons.
Legal weapons.
Wow.
In 2007, this happened, right? So I had no idea that I was going to include that in my book, because this book was written, I started it in 2011. And I believe that the creator did not want me to complete the book until I had gone through all of the agencies that helped me to be a reentry specialist.
Right.
So, but that's my favorite because it was so personal, because the system was trying to get my son. And I wasn't going to let them do that. So it took us a whole year to get the case dismissed. Mm-hmm. So now, can you tell the audience something about yourself?
Sure. So I have about 6 to 8 years working in prisoner reentry. First, I started working at the Kentucky Group. I met you when I worked for the federally contracted halfway house, Tola House. I was a social services coordinator there, and I was responsible for providing linkages to the men and women in the program, helping them get entry-level jobs, helping them to possibly achieve upward mobility through, if they want to go to a school route, get an education. We provided them with bus tickets to get back and forth to work. We tried to reduce all type of barriers to employment.
Right.
From that company, I went on to work for former Governor Jim McGreevey as an employment specialist at the New Jersey Reentry Group.
Right.
And I'm a father of one 2-year-old daughter, happily married for 6 years. And I've been knowing Ms. Bey, like I said, for quite some time.
Right.
It's been a pleasure working alongside you, being under your tutelage, learning a lot from your invaluable wisdom that you dispense upon me. So
Thank
just
you.
enjoying life.
Thank you. Well, I'm so glad, because you know what? Life is treating you real good, because you look younger. You look younger.
Credit to my wife and the
Right.
vitamins I've been taking.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I just want to say that those of us who work in work in this type of population, we have to have that type of compassion and care that you have because of what we're doing for human beings to get them to recognize who they are and who they were destined to be. I can't leave this today without talking about one of my favorite artists. Okay, I have to use a quote by him. As a matter of fact, I'll do two. Okay, I'll first use a quote by Malcolm X. And Malcolm X said that we should that he was not embarrassed by being a criminal. He said the embarrassment was remaining the criminal. And so 50 Cent says, okay, he said, don't be embarrassed by your past because it's your past that makes you who you are, right? So those two men have, in my opinion, they expressed the type of, how would I say, the people that we're working with, because many of them are embarrassed by their past, right? And with them being embarrassed by their past, they do not take responsibility for what they did in their past, because what they will do by not taking their responsibility, it's somebody else's fault. So we have to help them to recognize that where you're sitting, you put your butt there, you really worked. You put the work in to be where you are, but that does not mean that you will stay where you are once you start changing the way you think, because everything begins in the mind. You know.
Thoughts turn into actions. And you're right, and that was something that we heavily focused upon when I worked in that industry. Not being ruminating in the past.
Okay.
It was a book that I read. It's called The Power of Now. Talking about being present today. So it's not about getting stuck in the past. Not about projecting the future. We're not there, but being grateful for what we have today. And you talked about those stigmas that many of returning citizens face. I'm embarrassed, so it's hard for me to take accountability. But you have to take ownership of that so that way you can learn from it. I made an egregious mistake. It does not define the totality of who I am.
Exactly.
This is what I'm going to do, incremental steps to move forward, to have a better positive outcome in life. So I think it's important to plant those seeds, let them know that they are not, I think it was Frederick Douglass, I'm paraphrasing it, said it's easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken men.
That's right.
So a lot of times we're seeing human suffering all around us. In these populations. So let's be gentle with them, let's try to restore their confidence, restore their humanity, so that they can get back to helping their families, which in turn help our community.
Exactly. And one thing that I don't allow them to do is make excuses. Because I know they can't come to me with no excuses. And if they're not ready to change, I tell them don't come to me at all. Because I don't have no time to waste. So, and the beauty is that they recognize that, and they come ready and willing to put the work in, put the same type of work that they put in to get in prison in the first place. Now they gotta put that work in to change the trajectory of their life. And a lot of them are ready to do that, but they just have to have people who are working with them to help to guide them. That's why what you and I were doing inside was so important. Because we were guiding them, we were showing them another way. And it was their choice to say, yes, I want this, or no, I don't want this. So, so I had, there's a chapter in here I'll talk about. It's called the bad hair day.
I like the title.
This young man, I got him ready for an interview, right? Because you know how we do when we're getting them ready for the interview, how to dress, what to say, and all that stuff, right?
Body language.
All of that.
Preparation.
Resume. So I had all that was done for him. So I happened to come to work early this particular day, right? And I'm seeing him walking out, because I did his pass, because we had to do the pass so they could leave. So I did his pass, and I'm saying, what are you wearing? I said, you can't go on an interview looking like that. I said, you have to go back inside. So he goes back inside, right? He was so mad with me, right? I said, I don't care. You're going back inside because you're not going there looking like that. He goes to the director. The director calls me into his office and he says, Miss Bey, you know, he's mad because he wants to go on an interview. I said, well, he ain't going on an interview looking like that.
Right.
I'm the counselor.
Right.
He is not going looking like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, so what do you want us to do? I said, I want him to look appropriate when he goes in.
Right.
So he said, well, let's call him into the office.
Mm-hmm.
You see, he was okay with him going looking like that.
Right.
The director.
Right.
Okay, so that told me something.
Right.
All right.
A lot of people are dispassionate working in this industry.
Exactly.
And they're not taking a vested interest
Right.
in the population of people in which we serve. So he doesn't care whether the guy gets the job or not.
Exactly. Just get him out.
Space.
Exactly. So we called him to the office and everything. So I told him, I said, well, I want you to go to your room and get a pair of pants that fits. Mm-hmm. Okay, because those are four times your size. Okay.
Right.
So get a pair of pants that fit. Mm-hmm. Get a nice shirt.
Right.
All right. Because he had all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he did all of that, right?
Right.
The only thing was his hair.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to the director, I said, he's not going out there looking like buckwheat, right? And so then he comes back, the young man comes back, he looks nice. I said, no, that hair,
Right.
you can't. I said, do you know who buckwheat is, or was? So he said, yeah. I said, well, that's who you look like, okay? Your hair should not be looking like that when you're going on an interview,
Right.
all right? So anyway, I said, can I have permission to touch your hair? He said yes. So I fixed it up for him, like in you know, the little braids and everything. I fixed it up and everything. They wasn't like all over the place, right? So this is what he said to me when he came back. He went on the interview, and I always tell the guys and ladies, when you go on an interview, come back and see me so I could know what happened, right? He comes back. He said, Miss Bey, I didn't get the job. I said, I know you didn't get the job, you know, because you got an attitude, but that's okay. And this is what he said to me. He said, Miss Bey, thank you, because when I looked in the mirror, I really did like what I saw.
Oh, wow.
I said, see? I said, and let me also say this to you. I don't care. I said, just because you went to the director,
Right.
it was not changing my mind.
Right.
So
Right.
you wasn't doing anything, right?
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Right.
And you really cared, and that has long-standing ramifications for a person like that.
And then I saw him when he was released. I was
Really?
driving one day, and he saw me. He said, Miss Bey. And so I said, oh my goodness. I pulled over. I said, wow, look at you. He said, and then he gave me a nice big hug and everything. And he said, thank you again. I said, are you staying out of trouble? He said, yes, I am. I said, okay, that's all I need to know. You know, I said, you know where I am. You got my phone. You can call me, right? He said, yes.
I like that.
You know, yeah. So we all have those types of stories inside. And see, and this book is for counselors.
Okay.
You know, because counselors, I think, are very important.
Right.
They don't realize how important they are,
Right.
you know, to brothers and sisters who are going through some stuff that they're going through.
Right.
But they have to have the right, I would say, mental mindset to know, okay, I'm working with these brothers and sisters who have done such and such and such, not to judge, but just to know.
Right.
So how we can help them. Like one of the things that we don't tend to do a lot, and I see that more people are starting to do it now, we need to start asking, what is it that you want to do with your life?
Right.
Because a lot of cases when I talk to them, they say no one ever asked them that question. So they have to go back and think about what it is that they want to do with their lives.
Right. Establish short-term goals, long-term goals. When I worked in a program, we used to have SMART goals. You know, broke down an acronym. S was for specific, whatever that goal was. M was measurable. A, was it attainable to you? R, is it relevant or realistic? And then T, was it time-bound? So we didn't create a timeline, but you're right, you have to break down goals incrementally. What do you like to see? Where do you see yourself 5 years from today?
Right.
Maybe 10 years from today.
Right.
Create that vision. A lot of us lack vision. We have sight, but we don't have vision.
Right.
We didn't have these conversations in the household growing up with our parents. A lot of the people in the program. So I think it's important to write that stuff down on paper and help them chart a path forward, as you mentioned earlier. So,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I agree with that.
And now, you know, the other thing that we have to do when we're inside is do write-ups.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I have a chapter on write-ups.
Disciplinary aspect of it.
Yeah. I didn't do write-ups.
You never did a write-up?
In the book, I talk about the write-up that I did. And I was forced to do the write-up.
Oh wow.
this brother was disrespecting me. And see, in my attitude, working with him, you're not really disrespecting me, you're just being who you are.
Right.
I'm not intimidated by any stuff that you do.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So I didn't know that there were other brothers that was witnessing all this, right? Mm-hmm. So I go upstairs to do the lecture, mm-hmm. and there was about 50 brothers in the lecture room. Mm-hmm. So one brother said, so Ms. Bey, we saw what happened downstairs. Are you gonna write him up? Mm-hmm. I said, no, I'm not writing him up. I said, I'm gonna call him to my office so I can speak to him. He said, well, Ms. Bey, we know how you feel about write-ups, but if you don't write him up, we're taking him to the bathroom.
Oh, wow.
That's what I said too. I said, oh, wow.
Right up it is. Right.
I said, right. I looked at their faces and everything. I said, oh my God. Mm-hmm. I wrote him up.
Okay.
And so I gave the write-up to the director. Mm-hmm. Parole was on site, right? Okay. And so he took it to parole. Mm-hmm. And so they called the brother in, mm-hmm. and the brother was saying, no, I don't want to leave. Miss Bey is wrong. She did. And so the parole officer said, per what the director said, the parole officer says, let me see who wrote you up. Mm-hmm. He said, no, you out of here. Wow. He said, why? He said, because Miss Bey don't write up. Miss Bey don't do write-ups.
Had to be something extreme.
You had to have done something, right? So he didn't understand that the brothers were the ones who told me that if you don't write him up, mm-hmm. we're taking him to the bathroom. Right. And that was the first time I realized what happens in the bathroom. Yeah. But anyway, I took that. The reason why I didn't do write-ups is because when we're writing people up, in my opinion, we're criminalizing their behavior. Right. As opposed to discussing with them the behavior. Right. Right. And once we sit down and discuss the behavior with them, then they'll say, you know what, I didn't realize I was doing that. Right. Or something will come up, and then what they will do is apologize for the behavior.
Right. Same. Like, I was never quick to write an individual up. If I can have a conversation, first I want to do a corrective counseling. Maybe there's an underlying issue why that person is irate towards me. And I try not to take things personal when I worked in that industry as well.
Yes.
You sort of have to be impervious to, because again, you're dealing with mental health wasn't discussed at the time when I was there.
No.
They were oftentimes neglected, right? So we criminalize the behavior, but if we were to address those issues early on during adolescent years, during those formative years, this person probably would not have been sitting across from me in this program. So I had to be sensitive to that. I get to go home at 5 o'clock. I got to punch out. They had to stay there. So oftentimes they would be frustrated. I try to come with good energy. Hopefully that would be a transference to the population of people I'm around. Always try to bring good energy, smiling. Right. You said that one gentleman that went on the interview, he didn't get it. It wasn't his attire. He lacked social skills. Right. Oftentimes they don't have those soft skills, so we do a lot of soft skills training. Yes. I wish we could have gave them more technical training. We didn't have any of those programs inside of the institution. We would refer out, but you're right in terms of not being so quick to write somebody up. Mm-hmm. First, let's try to address what the problem is, see if we can find a solution towards that. And then if there's a persistent thing and it continues, then you have to write up, obviously, because now, discipline. But yeah, you're right. And I think it built a lot of rapport with the brothers and sisters in the program. When I went and write them up, thank you for giving me a shot. I made a mistake. Exactly. I'm used to people punishing me. Exactly. Punishment at home, i.e. meant a spanking or beating. Right. The Xaiver house was filled with people that were spanked. Right. We don't got to spank them with a write-up. Right. Let's have a pull-up session. Come to my office. Let's talk about it. And they would tell me I'm frustrated, Harris, because I can't go out. I didn't get a work pass. It wasn't approved. Right. I was trying to go out for some food, and then I got denied by operations staff. So, it's good to talk those situations out and try to find out what the problem was.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because then while we're talking it out with them, they're understanding why they're doing what they're doing. Right. And they don't have to resort to anything that's illegal, right? Or if you're going to hurt someone, right? You don't have to resort to that, right? And you're right. They have many of them haven't been taught that, and then they do what they saw,
right.
What they've seen,
right. Creatures of habit.
Yes, right.
We saw that. We witnessed this in the household. We witnessed aggression. I'm used to, if I yell at somebody, I get what I want.
Yes.
So oftentimes for me, I wouldn't match that aggression. I could, because I'm from the same area where you're from.
Right.
That's why I'm in the field.
Right.
I'm from your same community.
Right.
But my desire was, if I can help you learn some social skills. You can go back into that community, and you're less likely to harm my sister or brother who lives in that community and
That's
you
right.
as well as well.
That's right.
So I don't match your aggression. I'm going to de-escalate.
Right.
Take a deep breath, buddy. Come into my office, and let's use logic. Let's take the emotion out of the situation. When I tell them they ramped up, right, especially with men.
Oh yeah, they are. Oh my God.
Goodness, yeah.
Yeah, they thought that a lot of them thought that just because they was big
Right.
and they're doing that was intimidating
like to
me.
stand up.
Exactly.
I'm like, oh.
I would tell them, look, if I'm afraid of you, why would I be working
Right,
here?
why would I be right.
You know, so I just want to end with something with this. Would you say, since you worked inside, you worked with this population, would you agree that reentry starts on the inside before they come home?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think pre-entry, yeah, it should start inside the prison walls prior to coming home, helping them procure identification.
I like that pre-entry. Go ahead.
I think we got to start there. Not even when they get to the halfway house. Let's help them with getting identification. Give them a trade or a skill while they're inside, right? Let's try to give them some type of certification program if possible. But helping them have those skills so when they do matriculate to the halfway house, and then when they do get out into the actual society, then they're better prepared.
Right.
I think we fail this population when we don't do those things early on.
Yes.
So I agree with that.
And that's also in my book too.
Okay.
I talk about that as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Mr. Harris, I am so happy to see you because the last time we saw each other was like about 3 years or so ago at a conference. Yeah. Yes, that's right. And I said, I got to get in contact with Mr. Harris. And so then I find out that you're no longer there. So I'm saying, well, where is he?
People reached out to me. You had some people reach out to me.
Right.
I said, hey, if it's from Ms. Bey, I'm there. If it's from Ms. Bey, I'm there. You're like, is it okay if I give you? Of course, give Ms. Bey my number.
And I'm so happy. And this is such a blessing because I had no idea that I was going to interview you for the TV show.
Yeah, I had no idea. I'm prepared. I'm like,
No.
I'm like, okay,
No.
Ms. Bey, whatever.
No.
I'm going scripted.
And that's exactly what you did. I just want to thank the audience so much for joining me today on my book signing day and interviewing a young man who I think is so outstanding in the work that he has been doing with this population, Mr. Xaiver Harris.
So much.
Thank you so much for coming out, and I really appreciate you.
Appreciate you as well.
Thank you. Thank you.